So, welcome back to GM Tips. This is GM Rick. And this I'm going to go a little, well, I won't say go off reservation because I think you can apply it to a lot of systems. I'm going to look at the art of being a good player and or being a memorable player, however you want to kind of go, or the art of being a player, just in general. I love doing these things because for me, I think GM Tips is a very memorable experience for me. There we go. I finally got this to where it's comfortable. Sorry, it sometimes annoys me technical difficulty wise. What is it to be a good player? And I think a lot of people have different definitions. A lot of books will have different definitions. A lot of core books will have different definitions. But I'm going to pick out kind of the things. Well, I'm not going to pick out kind of. I'm going to pick out the things that are similar no matter the system, that I think really make you a memorable player in any campaign. Number one, create a great backstory as a player. With your characters, have a background that you're playing out, that you come from as a player. What does that do for you? It gives you a core of things to draw from with each character you do. Your characters don't have to be played the same. They don't have to all act the same. They don't have to all respond the same. They don't have to even be similar. What you do by creating your backstory is you create the very framework as a player of how you're going to play in your sessions and how you're going to characterize your character. And I really truly believe that this one gets left out, and that's why I'm putting it as number one. Because despite the game, you run in there and go, "Oh, I want to play for Mutants and Masterminds, a guy that shoots laser bolts out of my eyeballs. So I'm going to be Mr. Eye Ray." Okay, well, what's his story? How did he get the eye rays? Was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? What formed his life? Why did they choose to be a hero, a villain, or a vigilante? Why did they take this path? What drove them there? Um, were there good experiences, bad experiences, good memories, bad memories, formative years things? Were their parents great parents? Were they no parents? Were they orphans? Were they survivors? There's a lot of different things you can do, but as you put together your framework, you really framework it so you can play a great role in any campaign. Number two, be open-minded with your GM. Now, sounds vague, doesn't it? Here's what I mean. Number one, be willing to listen to your GM. Ask them, number one, what kind of campaign they want to create or they're thinking about creating for you guys. Where in the world will it be? What kind of world will it be? What kind of universe will it be? What will be the types of NPCs they can run into in that world? Are there different races and core races that are allowed or not allowed? Are there different types of classes that are allowed or not allowed? Is there different type of equipment that's allowed or not allowed? And don't be afraid to negotiate with your GM. All right, I'm not saying you're going to win every battle, and if you think as a player you're going to win every battle with the GM, you are sadly mistaken. The GM is not Santa Claus. The GM is not your moneymaker. The GM is not the bank of the GM. The GM is not the GM fairy. Okay? And I think sometimes players see him that way. Well, why don't you let me do it that way? I wanted to do that. I really, really, really wanted to play that. And you just didn't let me. And you were a meanie. And you were da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Take a breath. Quit thinking about yourself all the time. Try to get a better understanding of what the GM is trying to create. Ultimately, you're going to tell the story, you and the rest of the players. Okay? He or she narrates some things, fills in the color commentary from the NPCs, gives you the framework of the story around you, depending on how you react, but ultimately, you're writing the epic. Okay? So do me a favor. Cut it out. And I've seen players do it, and I've had multiple say, "You just don't let me do my creative thing. You stifle my creativity. You stifle me. You stifle this." No, not really. Sometimes you as the player stifle the game. Okay? And that's a hard fact for us sometimes to look at ourselves and own our own things that we got to grow in. But let's face it, ask other players what they think about you. You want a real snapshot on you? Ask your fellow players how they think of you as a player and what you do and what kind of characters you play. What do they have them give you an assessment? Ask them what you do well. Ask them what you don't do well. You'll get a clear picture. The GM will quit being the bad guy, and you'll see yourself a lot clearer, I hope. But again, I say that because it's a two-way street. The GM has to do that with you, but you need to do that with them too. It is not all about you. The world does not revolve around you. You aren't the center of the world. And sometimes your actions say, yeah, I am. And I know I've been that way as a player too. I pushed some GMs to get my way. And looking back, I was, forgive my language, a butthole. And I know I'm not using the curse words for kids that watch and everything else, but I was a horse's rear. And I shouldn't have been. It's okay to be excited. It's okay to want to play something. But always check with the GM beforehand before you get your hopes up. That way then you can look at the frameworks and parameters of that world and come up with something that is very doable and very fun to do in that world and still quite creative. And if you work with a GM and the GM is worth their weight in salt, they'll work with you some. But they're not going to give you the impossible, okay? It just doesn't work that way. And I know some people say, well, I GM that way. I give my players everything. Well, goody, goody, goody with sprinkles on the top. That's you. Not every GM is you. Don't expect them to be you. Okay? We're all on our journey of growth. Try to work with them. You're no better than them. You're no farther along than them. You're all about the same spot, just different things you're dealing with. That's pretty much how life goes, you know? So that's number 2. And I spend some time there because I think for GMs and for players, you got to have kind of that understanding. Okay? Try to understand the style of play you do. What kind of player are you? Go read it back in that GM's guide, those things. You can look them up on Paizo's website if you don't have the GM's guide. But look at player types of player personalities. Read them. Pick other people, third parties type of player personality rights, or even, whole things on it. I've got a whole GM tips on it. Let me tell you this. If you understand who you are, you're going to understand the goods and bads about you. You're going to understand your strengths and your limitations. The coolest part of a player is when you understand those things and you try to grow beyond those things and make yourself a different type of person. And I think for me, I love it when a player has an epiphany about who they are and grow with it and roll with it and learn from it and get better. That's cool for me as a GM to watch that happen. But I'm saying as a player, it's good to understand where you are, what type of player you are, and then what type of player are your other players. What is Mary? What is Paul? What is Jack? What is Frank? What is Eva? What is Nikki? What type of players are they? And how does my personality work with them or not work with them? Because there's a thing called player or team or group dynamic. And it can either really go really well because you each understand your strengths and weaknesses, or it can be a really hotbed of contention every week. And I think the groups that understand each other's strengths and weaknesses and build each other up and help each other and encourage each other, they go a long way, especially with new players. Look, it's hard joining into a new setting. I don't care how many years you played. You walk into a brand new group, a brand new playing setting, and it is shell shock. Think about that, you GMs who are introducing these new players, and take the time to really wake and bake on that one. Shake and bake, wake and bake. Take some time to really think about that. It is okay for fellow players to hold the hand of another player and help them to feel welcome, to feel one of the group, to not feel like an outsider, even if their ideas of a character are uber weirdo, okay, for you. Encourage them. Be their biggest fan. Get in their corner. Make your player character mesh with them or have fun or have an interesting, fun dynamic. I'll tell you what, that player will be ever grateful to you and will become a very integral part of that party and become a major growing force that adds so much to that party that maybe your party doesn't have currently. So be the supporter. Understand your fellow players, especially new players. Give them a lot of leeway to work with you and get to know them. Don't automatically say, oh my lord, they're replacing this person. I hate that. Why did that person have to go? My son got that way a little bit, and I'm sorry, John, you did. He had a couple guys he liked in my group. They moved on because either we didn't see eye to eye, I didn't see eye, we tried it, and it just didn't work, or they had to move for a job. It is the dynamic of a group. Sadly, we can't always keep our home player groups together, even our online ones, for long periods of time. And it's sad. It's a great experience while it lasts, but doesn't always last. But the ones that do will be your linchpin players that you play with, your fellow players. Think outside the box. The same old's nice sometimes, but it gets old. It gets stale. Maybe you haven't perfected what you wanted. That's fine. Explain it to the players. Look, I'm playing this again, fellow players, because I really wanted to achieve this. They'll understand. But just don't play it to play it. Just because you've always been the meat shield or the cleric healing thing or the wizard of wondrous fireballs does not mean you have to be every time. Let someone step up. I love in this campaign of mine that one of the players decided to play a paladin instead of the sorcerer he did the first time and let someone else be the sorcerer. And I really appreciate that the two didn't necessarily always see eye to eye on everything, but they've really come together to work together pretty well. I was pretty happy about that. They overcame maybe some awkwardness they had in the beginning. Even, they may have played before, but there may have been that awkwardness. They thought outside the box on how to work together and how to achieve the goal. They thought outside the box to how to make a paladin work with a rogue, work with a fey-blooded sorcerer, work with a cleric, work with a war priest. Who'd have thunk it, It's an odd group of characters, but they think outside the box to make it work and encourage each other. And I appreciate that. Think outside the box on how you respond, How do you respond in every situation? Is it the same thing all the time? Why not surprise the GM? I love nothing more when my characters surprise me with an outcome I never thought they would take in a million years. I sit back and I go, wow, I like that session. Make it fun for your GM sometimes. Let me tell you, you want to have a rewarding experience, light your GM up in a good way. That's a beautiful thing. Then they're really pumped. They're ready to tell the world about you. You become the player that everybody wants in their party. It's an amazing thing when you think outside the box. It just is. I don't remember if it was Winston Churchill, so forgive me if it wasn't. I believe he quoted in this way in saying, you do the same thing time and again and expect a different result. That is the definition of stupidity. That was humbling for me to hear. So I do the same thing every time. I get the same result, not a good one. But yet I continue to try it again and again, hoping that sometime it'll work. What does that say about me? So I think that's the kind of thing that you look at, is you got to look at those things. Come prepared. Don't drag into a session last minute. Don't be the one that's always late. Don't be the one that's always moaning and groaning about the world politics. Don't be the one that always comes in with a negative attitude. Don't come in and be the class clown all the time. Come in excited, ready to play. I love when my players send me emails between sessions. They're thinking about the next session. Not just a, can I make this, can I do this, can I buy this, but the, hey, my character's sending messages back to this. They're working their background story. I love that. You want to light your GM up in a good way again? Send them emails saying, hey, you know what? Remember my background story? I wanted to do this and this and this during this interim time when things are kind of between sessions. Can I do that? Of course. Why not? That's great. Gets me back to thinking as a GM again. Gets me thinking about your character's background again. I try to remember it all the time, but let's be honest. I mean, GMs, you should be reading your character's background before each session. It's a good thing to do. But, my thing with it, and again, I guess in looking at this and as I'm thinking it through, come prepared. Character sheet ready, books out, everything written up. If they're ready to do a first session, don't come in with your character half made or unmade and then want to copy it all down. I know you're busy. We're all busy. Take a little time out and do it. You won't regret it. I've been prepping my players almost 6 months ahead of time for the next campaign. Why? So they're ready. When we get ready to do that transition, man, they are ready. They're chomping at the bit. I like it. Don't be afraid not to know all the rules. Some of you do know a lot of the rules, and don't be afraid to share. I mean, a GM appreciates, depending on how you share it, when you do clarify rules. We're not experts at everything. But don't correct every player on how they play. Give them a little hint if you see they're way out of bounds. But wait till after session. Do it in a positive way. Reinforce, maybe. It's okay. It really is. It's okay to ask the GM, hey, I was thinking about that. How does this work? You may know, but see if the GM knows. Always good to do. Doesn't hurt. The key thing is, the more adaptive and open-minded you are, the more interesting the sessions get. Know the rules as much as you can. Read through the basics. Try to understand a turn of what a turn is. Try to understand the combat and the movement portions, how different feats and skills work with that. Some campaigns have a lot of feats and skills or abilities. Some have very minimal. But try to understand how the dynamic of your character works in that, so that when you do that, your GM's not having to question your every action. They shouldn't have to police you. Oh, it's part of the job. Yes, it is. But it's going to take away from the session and the role play. And it's going to cause the GM to spend an overly amount of time correcting all your things, and after a while you're going to get tired of them correcting you. Common sense stuff. I know I'm hitting some stuff here. It's not always as sexy, but it's good stuff. I mean, if you think about it. Use different voices. Try to role play. Just like the GM is role playing and playing and acting out a part, you act out your part. I love this recent D&D session that Chaotic Anarchy, or Kit, is running on Twitch with us. It's a Kickstarter module. I can't tell you much about it. But two of the players in there, Griswick and Amara. And Griswick, Amara, and who am I forgetting? Noof! Oh my lord, Noof, kick me. I am so sorry. Don't have enough of this. Long day, been up since 4. They all have this flair and voice for their character. And me boko, it got me thinking about me gnome and how my voice is with me gnome. Because he's a little bit of a pissant sometimes, but he has a lot of fun. And he plays himself a little bit interesting. I don't know if my voice is Irish or Scottish, don't know. But it's his voice. And I like it. And I like how saucy he is sometimes. And he gets back to kicking and singing when he's drinking. And he's hilarious. And he almost drinks himself into oblivion, but stops just beforehand. Because a rogue is a little bit smart when it comes to that. Have fun with your voices. I don't care how silly you sound. Try it. You get good at it. It's okay. It's okay to have everybody giggle at your voice. At least you're trying. And it's something different. Try your different accents. Do a German. Oh, and Gunther's going to do this. I don't know. Do Japanese. And then you go to this scene. Because the Freileit's doing this way. No, I'm not good at it. But you try anyways. Okay? What's the harm? What is the harm of doing a voice? How about doing a feminine voice if you're male? Challenge manhood. It's okay to do. This is the fun of playing a campaign. This is the fun of getting into your character. If you want to dress the part a little bit, I know some people who dye their hair, won't say her name, and wears the clothing, and I think it's cool as heck. I really do. Some people are like, it's distracting. No, it's not. It's fun. Gets her into character. Who cares? You know, you don't like it, kiss my butt. GMs. I swear, and forgive me, some of us are real prima peants. There's other words I want to use, but I'm not going to for the sake of the kids watching this. Do me a favor. Enjoy yourself as a player. Role play it. Have fun with it. Get into your character. Give them a personality. Have that personality be out there every time. Watch the swearing a little bit if little ears are around. Please do. Some people are different about it. I like when people mind that because the mini GM, she hears. I don't want her repeating your F-bombs. But beyond that, have fun with it. Play up your 20s and your 1s, or whatever your misrolls are. If it's percent dice, 6-sided dice, 4-sided, 12-sided, play them up. Go over the top when you do the criticals and the massive hits that are this epic. Really play up the epic fails. Those are funny too, and they can have a lot of fun with them. I had my epic fail, and I'm sneaking down, and there's the gnoll staring at me. Oh, great. Yay, my little gnome's going to die. Everybody was laughing. It's the fun of going, oh, crap, I blew my roll. It happens. You notice I'm not as revved up. Part of it's I'm getting tired. But the other part is I don't want this to be overly dramatic. I really want this to be a nice little fireside chat that we have. Don't be afraid to research different materials on character types, but don't be unrealistic either. Not everybody's going to be Deadpool. Not everybody's going to be Wolverine. Not everybody's going to be this guy or that guy. It's okay to be something similar to average that you just kind of take out of the average. You know? I gave my Call of Cthulhu character a major drawback I thought was hilarious. He hates rats. And I mean just doesn't hate rats. He is freaking phobic of them. So if he sees a bunch of rats coming towards him, well, pretty much figure his sanity is gone. He's going to either be firing, hacking them, or running for his dear life. And if you need him, he ain't going to be there for you. It's his phobia. Everything else, he's there. He is so there. That, not really. And it's a cool drawback. The GM can have a lot of fun with it. Noof can take off of that, and oh my lord, he can have so much fun with that. And I'll have fun with him. And it's okay. My character's not as strong. I like it. It challenges me. It makes me think outside the box. It's okay to give your character flaws and work with them, but allow the GM to work with them and make it fun with them and make it part of the epic story of your epic flaws. It's all a lot of fun. So all these things, I guess what I'm saying is there's some real core keys here. Players, please don't gloss this. Please, please, please. There's so much other things I can tell you, okay? But I think these things are really, I think, in my mind, some of the top things as a GM that if my players are doing these, I'm having a lot of fun with them. I don't have high expectations, but these things right here make my experience as a GM that much more fun. And so keep that in mind. You really want to make your GM want to come back and GM you. I think that's part of it too. It's not just on us to make you want to come back to the campaign. It's on you too. And okay, so you're a little bit of an introvert, so you're a little bit scared. I understand. Look, you guys don't understand. When I grew up, I was an introvert. I was a possessive little introvert that sometimes hurt his friends. If you look at me now, I'm nothing like that person. Why? I decided to change. You might do that. You might go from an introvert when you start gaming to an actual full-on fun, laughing extrovert that charges themselves every time they get into a group. It happens. You're not set and wired to be always that way. You can change. Whether you're an introvert, extrovert, basically the Briggs Myers thing, you can change that. Don't think you can't. Yes, you can. It's up to you. Do you want to? If you want to, that's a great thing. But keep that in mind. Don't just think that, you know what, I'm this way and the GM's just going to have to deal with me. Okay, well, the GM's that way, so you're going to have to deal with them. How's that for sour grapes? You expect the GM to be adaptable? Well, why should they be adaptable when you're this stoic stone little, I am the way I am and you better accept me? Come on, guys and ladies. Let's think about that. Or ladies and guys. Let's flip it around. Let's think outside the box. Let's make it a really epic time for them. And let's really learn the art of great player play. Because I think for that, you'll never regret these things, these little things. And there's GMs that will tell you other things. Listen to them too. They're going to hit on some of the things I don't. But these to me really, I think, are the core things that will make you just that tremendous player if you really pay attention to them. Thanks again. Again, I've given you 2 videos tonight. I hope that you really enjoy them. I hope this becomes part of your plethora of things as a player and self-evaluating yourself and growing. And I don't think you'll regret it. So, till next time, take care. Hey, hey.